At the start of the year, I put out a video looking at yellow dial watches, and during the research process for that video, one brand kept coming up again and again, HMT. I hadn't heard of them before and so decided to do a little research. I found a model that I liked and featured it in the video as yellow dials seem to be synonymous with all manner of their watches. However, since then, I've had a burning curiosity in the back of my mind. All of the HMT models were so cheap, yet vintage. The brand had seemingly gone out of business, but why? When I stumbled across this Kohinoor model on eBay, I decided to take the plunge. I will apologise in advance for any mispronunciations that will undoubtedly follow. So yes, this video is going to be a keep or sell on this specific model. Does it earn a space in my collection permanently, or does it get sold on? But it's also an excuse for me to do a little more research into the history of the brand. If that sounds interesting to you, let's get into the video. Perhaps the most pertinent starting point is the name of the brand itself. The acronym HMT stands for Hindustan Machine Tools, with the brand being established in 1961 by the Indian government in collaboration with Citizen, with the aim of providing affordable watches to the Indian population at a time where watches were still considered a luxury. Produced in Jahali and headquartered in Karnataka, both within Bangalore, the watches quickly became popular regardless of social class, in large part because it was the first mass producer of watches in India. They were, and are, still seen as a point of national pride. The brand boomed in the 70s and 80s. However, as India liberalised its stance on foreign products, HMT suddenly had an influx of foreign competition. As a government-run company, they had added bureaucracy and red tape that slowed them down, meaning they couldn't keep up with the pace of change. Throughout the 2000s, the government propped up the business as they ran at a loss, but in the end, despite the cultural significance of the brand, the government ultimately shut down operations in 2016. Though there is clamour out there to fully revive the brand from several interested parties. There are still new old stock models out there, even on sites like the Indian Amazon page, and plenty of avid collectors and dealers who will refurbish and repair old models. The story of the brand doesn't quite end there, but for now, we'll use that short history lesson to lead us on to discussing the model that I purchased. As far as first impressions go, I really didn't know what to expect from the Kohinoor. I went in with no frame of reference whatsoever other than the price, and the listing itself wasn't exactly furnished with much information about the piece. So more than just testing out the wearing experience, this was also a journey of discovery. The first thing I noticed that I wasn't expecting was the exhibition caseback and the movement. As I've said, I was going in blind, so finding a mechanical movement on display in a model I paid so little for was genuinely a nice surprise. Research tells me that the movement is the HM0231 caliber, a mechanical three-hand movement derived from the HMT020, which was initially imported from Citizen in Japan. While the modifications to produce the 0231 were not extensive, it did mean that HMT models became in-house pieces. If you take off the HMT branding and just consider how much a vintage, in-house mechanical watch ought to cost, the chances are the answer is considerably higher than the cost of entry here. Not only that, but in the UK at least, this was actually one of the more expensive models on offer, so there is plenty of room to pick up an even bigger bargain. For reference, this cost me just less than $50. Most Kohinoor second-hand models advertised came on a metal bracelet too, if you see added value in that. But whoever had my watch last put it on a very nice colour-matched Italian leather strap. All in all, a very strong first impression. While you can pick up a Kohinoor or indeed any other HMT model in a wide range of colourways, yellow is perhaps the most significant. Like a lot of the Indian public sector, the branding and design of the watches was utilitarian and no frills in nature. The one effort that was made to attract attention was with the packaging that was bright yellow. Over time, this became synonymous with the brand, and as the association grew, the colour became a mainstay dial offering. Colours hold different significance around the world, and in India, yellow is often associated with new beginnings and prosperity. So yellow HMT models were often gifted at weddings for people starting their first jobs and those graduating from university. The Kohinoor itself measures in at 38mm in diameter and 8mm thick without the domed crystal. The lack of an automatic rotor is what allows for this relative thinness, and I have to say I've not seen many watches this slim that also feature an exhibition caseback. The main Manhattan Ultra Thin comes to mind. These small dimensions make for a comfortable wearing experience in a size that should fit most wrists. The advertised weight for the Kohinoor on a metal bracelet is 150 grams, which to me is a little bit of an indication that the bracelets themselves aren't that well engineered. I'd definitely be going for a model on a strap if you were looking to pick one of these up. Studying the dial reveals a few more details about the Kohinoor. The first thing you'll notice are the applied logo and indices, which is a nice touch and gives the dial far more than basic print work alone would. At 6 o'clock, Made in India is printed proudly. I can, at this stage, only apologise for the poor quality macro footage. My DSLR and macro lens have broken and I'm not in a position where I can afford to replace them just yet, but it's something I hope to remedy soon. Anyway, if we return to the dial for just a moment, between 6 and the handset there are 3 things printed. The HMT logo, 17 jewels, and finally Parashock. That Parashock labelling refers to the citizen inherited system built into the movement, which as it sounds is designed to protect the movement from damage through shocks, drops and knocks. While most sources I can find tell me that the brand is out of business, that doesn't appear to be quite true. Despite plenty of articles to the contrary, the brand does still seem to be operating as clearly evidenced by their active website. Now I know literally 0 words in any Indian dialect, so take everything I'm about to say with a huge slice of speculation, but it's my understanding that actually the brand reopened in 2019 despite no longer owning the factories and machinery required to produce mechanical movements. They have since worked through all of their old stock, everything left over from 2016 and before, and now just make watches with quartz or automatic movements bought in from Citizen. So it is possible to buy a new HMT model, but it won't be a fully in-house product anymore. I'm 100% sure I won't be able to tell the full tale here. So if you know more or can shed some light on the situation, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm more than happy to be corrected if I've made any mistakes in this video. I would also just like to add a few words of caution here before I wrap up. While the watches are very affordable here in the UK, we have very strong historical ties with India, and I don't know if they are as easy to get hold of in other countries, or indeed, given the current situation, how expensive it would be to import them. The other thing that would apply regardless of the political situation is that these are not new watches. So if you do buy one, just bear in mind that experiences will vary. While a big part of this video has focused around the brand behind the watch, I think I found an absolute gem here with this particular piece. HMT were, and arguably still are, a huge brand, but I think there will be a fair few among the audience who, like me, were not remotely familiar or indeed aware of them. The Kohinoor does 2 things for my collection. I don't have a yellow dial or a hand-wound movement in my collection at present, so to be able to tick off those 2 boxes at such low expense with what I think is a genuinely handsome, well-sized and interesting piece is a bit of a no-brainer for me. I'll definitely be keeping this permanently. Beyond that, hearing the story of the brand did also ignite some patriotism in me. I have no Indian heritage, of course, but I think if I did, that would definitely be another selling point of the brand. Personally, I'm always keen to hear about English or Malaysian brands for that exact reason, and having said all that, I do want to visit India one day to experience the culture for myself. What would you have done with this watch? Kept it or sold it on? I'd love to hear from you, especially if you can tell me more about the brand, this watch, or any experiences you've had. Let's discuss in the comments section below. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this in future.